started to feel a little bit more. We found out it was basically 20,000, and it started to feel like, well, that's a reasonable success. Will we have got 20,000 in England on a Saturday in the summer? Possibly not. And
Yeah.
And it's that buzz you talk about. It sounds like most of the people there were locals, or at least Americans, or people enthusiastic maybe about some sort of rugby, not necessarily knowing too much about what rugby they're going to see, but want to see it. So now they've got an experience of rugby league, so it can take on more interest and that sort of stuff. It was shown on TV in America, but apparently the TV scheduling didn't push it too big. It was
it was on CBS, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it was. I was told that it was kind of thrown in between some pinball coverage or something.
Right, okay.
And the TV guy didn't quite update and stuff like that. So I don't know if anyone not aware of it going looking for it would find it, but anyone who stumbled upon it, I'm sure had a great time watching that too. Okay, that's excellent. Do you have anything more to tell us about the Denver experience before we move on?
Yeah, just a couple of things really. I suppose. What do you think about the Isaac Luke incident when he stood on Bateman's hand? And
it should have been a sin bin. I don't understand why it wasn't a sin bin. It felt like there was no sin bins being given in that game. There was also the 20-metre restart that got deliberately delayed. Yeah, which would have been a sin bin automatically over here.
Yeah, and I just sort of, because particularly that sort of Isaac Luke one, we know he's a bit of a grubby player. That to me, there can't be any excuse for that. But actually, if he's thinking, in an international, I'm not going to get sent off, it just sort of encourages that sort of thing to happen, doesn't it? Because
totally. I don't understand how the match officials couldn't have pinged him for 10. I don't think it was a red card. No. To be honest, he wasn't going to break anything with the force he put on it and that sort of stuff. But it was obviously a deliberate stand on someone's hand.
Yeah.
It's nasty, it's cheap, and it shouldn't be encouraged or allowed. No, you're right.
And that always disappoints me a little bit in international matches. I want it to flow. There were, I haven't watched it again today. There's a few tackles which I thought, probably around about the chin. Could have, you could have done it. But let's not bother. Let's just crack on with it. But actually, some things like that one where they deliberately stops the sort of 20-metre restart, or that one there, which I thought was really grubby from sort of Luke. Because I just wondered what people in the crowd thought, because it was replayed several times. So clearly, a bloke standing on someone else's hand, and to most people, it would have looked like nothing happened.
Do you think the Yanks just thought these guys are hard? Look at him. He just got up and played on after someone stood on his hand, and maybe thought of it from that angle rather than the nastiness.
Yeah, they might have done. Because the other thing which sort of struck me watching it again on the telly today was that there was more noise in the stadium than came across. Obviously, the BBC sort of did their commentary from over here.
Yeah.
And so they'd obviously got
we missed stuff like the ref's mic, which sometimes adds to building in the sense of what the players on the field are hearing from the stadium. And
then I think just before half time, when they broke to there was an interview, wasn't it? And then you could just pick a bit more. They then went slightly to the local commentary before Tanya sort of stepped in, so you just got a little bit more noise then. But there was quite a lot of appreciation of the big hits, and what they really, really loved was the offloading. Every time one of the Kiwis offloaded, or when there was a break, there was a big roar went up around the ground. And I was chatting to somebody who was saying that in the NFL, really you don't get that. There's normally it's sort of a single play. So they're not used to that sort of one player touching
it, another play,
and so that was really interesting for me that then, and also was you got the impression that actually they were really pushing the Kiwi stuff. So the match was billed as New Zealand versus England, war cry at the mile high.
You saw a lot of people on the shots with like All Blacks t-shirts on and shirts on and that sort of stuff on the TV shots. So obviously. I sort of thought that brand, they've kind of tried to play on that brand without branding anything All Blacks at all.
Yeah.
They played on that brand because they know that people are aware of that rugby team.
Yeah, well, one of the guys we met on the train in, we were sort of just saying to him, and he said, it's what a great game. He goes, All Blacks versus the Roses, we both kept quiet. We thought, we're not going to say anything at all. But yeah, so there was a definite bit about that I think that sort of New Zealand All Blacks Union brand as a sort of worldwide brand, isn't it?
Hey, look, let's play on the coattails of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've rinsed us for enough in our time.
Indeed, they have, yeah.
And they will continue to do so when no doubt they go down to 13 players in the next 10 years. So let's do what we can to go on their
milk it while we can. Yeah, absolutely.
I would say, yeah. No, excellent stuff, Brian. Brilliant. Thanks for that. Okay, just before we move on to news, I'm just going to run through a bit of feedback we had from last week. I don't know if you have a view on this, actually. It was about me and Tim had a bit of a chat about scrum caps, and we're sort of talking about how we're surprised we don't see more people wear them. There's a lot of younger players coming to the game getting absolutely monstered by big forwards, and you'd think a level of a little bit more protection for themselves might be sensible. A few people got in touch to tell us off. Frogmore said, scrum caps won't stop folks from getting knocked out, they're more for stopping cuts. The brain rattling around inside your head doesn't know the difference wearing a guard or not. Andy Linley, at AD Linley, who seems to know a bit about this sort of stuff, said, do some research, open age amateur boxing introduced head guards and saw a significant rise in head injuries. Read about risk aversion, links to head guards in children, tackling technique focus would help more. And Bob Phillips said, an excellent ep as always, sheer dedication, getting through the yawns. For those interested, guards seem to have more of an effect than head guards in head injury. The existing scrum cap studies riddled with biases, though.
Yeah, and I thought it was really quite interesting, and particularly Bob's bit towards the end there, because when I used to be one of the administrators with the Yorkshire Junior Rugby League, which is a sort of biggest junior rugby league competition there is, and I remember a few years back there was some stuff about scrum caps, and the advice from the RFL which was sort of based on the various sort of research and stuff that had been done, was that actually, if anything, scrum caps might give kids a sort of greater sense of protection, because really all they do is sort of cuts and grazes and that type of thing. But actually, they might sort of think that there was some sort of research which sort of indicated that actually kids felt they got this scrum cap and they were almost invincible type of thing.
Yeah, that's that risk aversion stuff that Andy talks about. I mean, I think possibly my problem with it is my mentality doesn't start there. I don't start at the point of I've got something that might make things a little bit safer. So as a result, I'm gonna bang my head more. That's not how I'd think, but maybe that's how a lot of people do think. I mean, the head guards that they wore in boxing are completely different to the head guards you wear in rugby. I think any research on that you have to throw out. Is what I personally feel, that there's a different nature to those things. But I suppose there is similarity in the risk aversion aspect. Probably boxers didn't have the defence up as much because they thought the whack to the head won't hurt them as much, won't affect them as much. But I would have still thought protective gear hand in hand with technique and enforcement of the rules wouldn't be a problem. It's almost like people look down on head guards because they don't do what the foolish people who think they do a lot do, but they must do something. They must, because it's still, surely someone can design head guards that can spread out the impact of a blow to a certain extent, and I have always assumed that's part of what they can do. And it's not that you go looking for the blows, but if they happen, it's just like riding a bike without a helmet to me.
Yeah, but I suppose
I don't go looking to fall off my bike, but if I do, I'm happy for a helmet to observe the floor. But I still might get concussed and lose some teeth and that.
But if you think about, for your cycle helmet, what you've got there is a hard casing, isn't it? Whereas on a scrum cap, they're not; they're soft, and I think that's the difference. I think where they are good is like, people who sort of suffer from cuts and abrasions, then they're good for that, because you're not going to get knocked around your eyes, around the sides of your face and those sorts of things. And also I remember when I used to coach junior league, there were lots of kids would wear scrum caps because they came in all sorts of fancy colours and styles. So I don't think that it's it's a bit like boots. They always wanted to wear fancy coloured boots, and I think scrum caps was a bit like that as well. So I think they are quite marketable. And with the kids that I coached, some of the big tough kids used to wear them as well as some of the sort of littler kids. So it wasn't that like it was seen as a sort of negative for those who were, and it wasn't always the sort of mums and dads forcing the kids to wear them. It was quite a bit was down to whatever the kid wanted to do.
Yeah.
So
No, it's all really interesting. I do find it really interesting. It's something that I have read some of these things that people have sent through, and I've read some things in the past before. I suppose it's just my starting point is that the point of it's better to have something than nothing.
Yeah.
And then just play the game like you would play it as if you had nothing, even if you've got something. That's to me
I suppose
is the start. But I'm cut from a different cloth than a lot of people. I've come to realise.
Yeah, but if you think about it, did you play rugby league? No, and the reason you didn't is because you're cut from a different cloth. So I always think, I love rugby league and I absolutely admire players, but I think you have to be a bit thick to want to play it, really, don't you? Do you know what I mean? So. You have to. Somebody gives you the ball.
Have much regard for your body.
And they go, right, I want you to run up against that bloke who's much bigger than you, and he's going to smack you. Yeah, sure. I would be a bit like Ryan Briley. As soon as anybody came near me, I'd just give the ball to somebody else, and
then ask for a move. To
club. Once it got tough, I'd step down a row.
Yeah, it's not a touch league I can play in. No, is that not going to pay me? No. Oh, right, okay. I guess I'll just go down to League One.
Yeah, indeed, yeah.
Brilliant, fair enough. Okay, well, thanks for the guys who got in touch with that, because it's a really interesting topic. So it's to round out the discussion a little bit more with those views. So thanks everyone getting in touch, and we're now going to move forward on to news from around the world of rugby league. News now, sponsored by littlewarden.com. If you've got a website, then visit littlewarden.com and see what they can do to help you. They can help you with domain expiration checks, redirects, and all sorts of other important background web stuff that they'll make simple for you. Little Warden, monitoring the tedious. We're going to start with an interesting story, Brian. Leeds Rhinos have re-signed winger Luke Briscoe on loan, in inverted commas, from Featherstone until the end of the season, also in inverted commas. The 24-year-old made 10 appearances for the Super League Rhinos between 2014 and 2016 before joining Fev. He's also scored 28 tries in 19 games this season for the Championship side. Let's make that 29 in 20 games for the Championship side this season. Briscoe, obviously we know he pulled off equaling that record try scoring streak earlier in the year in that cup game. 17 consecutive tries that his run came to an end. 17 games with tries consecutively that came to an end in May. I mean, this is all a bit of a nonsense, signing someone on loan for them to play one game because one player's out of the country. Seems a bit excessive for me, but he's obviously been loaned to Leeds to get dual-regged back to Fev because he played there on Sunday. It's a way around the rules that is within the rules. So
yeah, I mean it's an interesting. When I heard he was playing against Catalans, I thought, oh, that's a bit strange. And then obviously with him playing up against Sheffield on Sunday as well. But I guess
he's got his streak back going though, because he scored in both games. So I bet not many people have pulled that off.
No, but I suppose it's a bit like when Paris Saint-Germain were in Super League in the first place, and when they played for Paris Saint-Germain in Super League, and then in the week they went and played for their French team as well. So
yeah, of course.
Maybe Gary Hetherington's trying to recreate the glory days of the start of Super League with this. But yeah, it does seem a bit bizarre. But I suppose
I have seen the odd player get named in a 19-man squad and then for a Thursday or Friday game, then get dual-regged out at the weekend. But that doesn't seem quite flaunting it the same way as bringing a player in from outside the club to then dual-reg them back to the club that you brought them in from.
I suppose if you think about it, though, there's no reason why the dual-reg shouldn't work like that. It just seems odd. But I also wonder, what does it say about what other wingers they've got at Leeds if they needed to do that? They'll have wingers in the next sort of levels down, won't they?
That's a very good point. Yeah, because where are they? Yeah. Totally. Because we know they've got injury problems in the forward pack in the first team, but it's not quite the same in those outside back positions. It is a question mark over that. I suppose in a way it's kind of how people who want that sort of farm team model would see it working. And actually, in the big super duper Americanized world, Luke Briscoe would have already been a Leeds player just because he played for Featherstone. Yeah. They farmed him out to them because Featherstone can't put their own team together because they're a farm team, not a separate team wouldn't be looking for promotion. But that's not how our game
No,
works.
it isn't.
It does stink a little bit from that point of view.
But it's also quite funny that, with him playing Wednesday and then Sunday, I mean, fair play to him. That's pretty good going, isn't it, really?